What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5 game development live stream where we're back in our Deck Knight project, a game built from scratch using Unreal Engine 5, C++ blueprints, gameplay, ability system plugin, and all of that good stuff. So, today we're going to work, I kind of want to get back into damage because I know I want to have different damage types. I want to have damage resistances. I want to have a bunch of that kind of stuff. And I found an article. We're going to read through this article that I have on screen. That kind of goes in through how we can do damage types and resistances. It's all based on tags and stuff, which is nice. It says like you can go about it without needing it to be explicitly attributes, but maybe it could be handled. I'm not sure. Because it recommends doing tags, and maybe that's not truly the way to go. Because they bring in modifiers from the above. So let's just kind of read through it, right? I'll make it bigger. I can share it with chat, and we can just see what's up. So one thing I see a lot and asked a lot is how to do damage types to do resistances. And many people have 15 to 20 attributes for different resistances and buffs. And, that's where my mind kind of goes, just because if I want there to be, dynamic resistances that are modified by other, gameplay effects, then I feel like that would be the way to go, have a fire resistance and a fire damage multiplier set, I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. It's just about adding more attributes and things like that. So you can, using a gameplay tag, determine your damage. It's a simple and a clean way to handle multiple damage types without needing multiple attributes. We can have one attribute for resistance and pull the values we need by utilizing the asset tags on the gameplay effect and own tags on the source or target. Discussed further. So maybe because I don't know how you would handle something like fire resistance explicitly. So you have attribute modifier restrictions. So yeah, you have source tags from the above. This is a duration-based gameplay effect. This has an attribute modifier for the damage resistance attribute. Yes. Which adds a damage resistance value based on the level and the attribute being modified. So basically damage type, if it's fire, it makes it 25, and then that's passed in. I'm assuming. So effect asset tags are very powerful. We can use them to describe what this gameplay effect is, what it does, how things should react to it, blah, blah, blah. So there's a damage formula. So damage.fire. And then you have these tags, instance. So here's a very simple damage gameplay effect. That is instant, applies 26 damage at level 4. The crucial part here is the gameplay effect asset tag. So you can see we have two tags, the damage type and the effect type. The latter can be used for the details on the gameplay type, blah, blah, blah. When a gameplay effect is applied, the tags from the source and target are read, aggregated, and passed into the evaluators. This includes tags from granted tags and effect asset tags, as well as any tags applied to the source target's ASC. So then we have the damage execution. We grab all the tags. So we have the resistance here and the damage. As you can see from the above, we are getting the damage resistance from the target. Evaluate there, reading the damage resistance for specific damage type. Boom, 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 putting it all together. So it's two gameplay effects. Yeah. One ice resistance, one fire resistance. So I suppose. So they're basically applying a resistance thing. So I guess that's where I don't want it to work. It's basically saying it's okay, it grants you, I don't know, 5% resistance or something. So you would have to grant a gameplay. I guess the gameplay effects can stack in different ways, so I guess it could technically work. But I don't know how we would read that to like write it into like a UI. Hey, what's up? How you doing? But yeah, you get the resistances there, right? So I wonder if this is truly the way to go. It's like what truly is the difference though, right? Like I guess it's just that you can read evaluate attribute value with tag. So evaluate attribute with tags. So like maybe that is the way to do it. So maybe it's actually fine to do it this way. We should have to try it. But yeah, in the calculation, again, the resistances, I guess that's how it could work. And then a damage multiplier would be the same for the damage type. I think it could work. Well, let's see. Let's try it. That's what we're going to do today. But I'm also trying to think, how does the damage, how do we pass that along into the gameplay effect, Like, can I pass along a gameplay effect for fire damage that has these kind of resistances and things like that? Because again, it's kind of a prerequisite to take these modifiers into consideration. Like maybe I can have like holistically speaking, I make a gameplay effect that has all of these modifiers taken into account. Or not. Let me look at burn, for example. Like, would the damage context have like an optional gameplay effect class that it would use that has like the burn inside of it, I'm just trying to think what would be maybe the best way to do it, because a lot of it is handled in code, and the damage pipeline does make some assumptions with the damage. Like, it has one instant gameplay effect. But maybe it needs to have multiple. Maybe I have to have like a lookup table or something. Like a map of, damage types to, because I don't like that there's a burn status and elemental fire. Like, I don't know if that makes sense either, I'm kind of just thinking out loud. Yeah, there's a couple of plugins that I'm using. I think they're both paid though, but it's the electronic nodes and then darker nodes. That's what I have enabled for this project to make it look like this. So I wonder if damage pipeline context should get a class of a damage type, or there just needs to be a lookup table. This is tough. I wonder if it needs to be in like ability settings. Not ability settings, but just developer settings. maybe there needs to be like a damage pipeline one that has this mapping in it, and you basically map a tag to like a damage type tag to a damage effect. But then yeah, there's the damage over time aspect of it. So is there a way? Is there a way to eloquently do this in code? Where we do elemental modifier, we do a modifier magnitude, but again, now, so this applies resistance. Yeah, the default one, I haven't looked at the default one in so long. So I kind of forgot what it looked like. Yeah, just trying to think out loud how this could work. Damage type, fire, or fire damage. Get that. So here are the resistances. Then here is the elemental fire. Just trying to wrap my head around what the approach would be. So damage type, resistance. So you can make a gameplay effect only evaluate and use an attribute if tag requirements are met. Yeah, so basically, yeah, it would have thing, it would only modify in the source. Oh, has duration. So this is the resistance itself. And then yeah, the damage here, yeah, it would be based off that. So essentially I would have to maybe make classes that have these in it, like, yeah, the potential issue again is in my damage pipeline. So systems, damage, pipeline. Subsystem. I have statics somewhere. Okay, there's apply fire damage, for example. It does all this. Does apply fire damage to target. And then it constructs a damage effect spec handle. So I wonder if this needs to have some information about that. And then we would say And like, or, when it's apply fire damage to target, after it gets it, we like add information to it, but I don't know if we can. Like, how can we at runtime like that potentially add a gameplay effect asset tag? Maybe it's possible. And yeah, it's like fire damage, so I mean, it could always, we could always just pass around the damage type to it. And then when we do the resistances, we have source tags. There's required. Maybe there can be multiple things there in the resistances. Like, I'm not happy about like having fire damage and then burn damage, like elemental fire. So maybe that damage type should just be fire damage anyway. So let's just see what this looks like by default. Well, it still behaves the same. So in theory, maybe I can within just apply damage to target, I can somewhere in here. I'm getting like the context and everything. I have the spec. I'm adding dynamic granted tags. Maybe here I could say damage spec, add dynamic asset tag, and then it could be this one as well. Maybe that's valid, but yeah, this is all from applied damage over time. So let me find that function. So apply damage over time, we get to here, and then we eventually jump to here, which we eventually get to here, which eventually gets back here. So it should be safe to do it there. But I would also need a resistance. So a resistance attribute and like a damage multiplier. So I don't know if I need an explicit damage attribute set. Maybe it could be under either char base or health. I think health, there's all these healing coefficients, which maybe could also be moved to this system. But yeah, maybe it can live here. So let's view property, blueprint only. Let's also put the editor category. We'll make it damage still. Oh. Attribute data, damage resistance, attribute successor, resistance, and then let's say damage. I don't know what the opposite of resistance is, but let's say damage multiplier. I kind of want to treat damage resistance and damage resistance especially as a multiplier. So maybe I could say damage resistance multiplier just so I know. Then we can go to source. Just need to make sure that we clamp it. Get damage resistance multiplier attribute. We'll clamp it at 1. Are you using gas? Yes, I am. Yeah. Gassing it up. I was about to say that too. A multiplier looks more logical. Agreed. Yeah, like if an attribute of a resistance value was like 35, I don't know what that means in the grand scheme of things. And then we'll do the same thing for get damage multiplier attribute 0 to 1. I think I have to do that other places too. Forget where it really has to be clamped. Let me find my card resources as well. The pre-attribute base change. Is that where I did it? Pre-attribute change. Then there's pre-attribute base change. So let's just do it there too. You also use gas in your game? Awesome. What kind of game are you making? Just do that there too. So I'm hoping that's enough. Yeah, it does get pretty complicated pretty fast. What I'm hoping, you know, if you're able to lay a foundation, like, hopefully the complexity flattens a bit. So, like, if you're able to introduce these attributes and you know how they work, you know how the formulas work, then it's about kind of combining these elements and just seeing how the system reacts to it, you know? So if we do have these damage resistance and damage multipliers, and then I apply fire damage and stuff. Oh, yeah, how's that look? Hack and slash looter game. Nice, nice. I'm kind of doing, I don't know how much of a looter my game would be, but I'm doing something hack and slashy. Like, I'm trying to find a middle ground between, like, Hades and, like, I don't know, something a little slower paced than Hades. Like, I want it to be roguelite. I want to be, you know, hack slash. I want to be kind of twitchy and, you know, mechanics. But yeah, the foundation, the core of the game is the use of deck building elements to at runtime, real time affect how the, you know, real time elements of the combat go. So you can grant yourself passive, so you can grant yourself active abilities and debuff enemies, and then there's AI that can also do the same to you. They have their own cards and stuff, and so you build a deck in between waves. You know, craft more cards, you upgrade cards. You maybe, like, I've been obsessed with people ripping Pokemon packs on TikTok, so I'm trying to have like a element of like that mentality. You know, being able to buy in-game with in-game currency. Of course, I'm not gonna make people buy anything, but you know, you can buy packs and then you get new cards from those things. You can have like chase cards and like SIR cards, like nice looking cards that like have, you know, you have an ability card, but then there's like a chase variation of it that like increases its potency and its ability and stuff like that. I think that'd be super cool. Yeah, I was pretty much the same way. Like, a lot of the time I was just doing blueprints. But yeah, pretty much on the same board, watching tutorials, trying to figure out myself, and, you know, trying to learn how to use AI in a way that doesn't really cripple my learning as much, which is tough to do. Sometimes I just over rely on it. But yeah. So let's look at our attributes. And yeah, I have a nice I am GUI debugs for this stuff, which is awesome. Took me a while to figure that out. But also, if you're interested, I do have the code open source. Like, you can't get any of the content or anything like that, but you can look at all the code. So you can kind of see how some of the stuff is implemented if it's something that interests you. And you also can join the Discord if you're not already. But yeah, let's look at our health attribute. That's where our resistances are. So we have resistance multiplier and damage multiplier. I just want to make sure it doesn't, so it clamps to 1. Zero, good. And as I go to -1, good, it clamps at 0. Okay, so that should be safe. I am gooey, bro. That's legendary. Do you have videos setting that up? Maybe. I know I did some live streams for it, but I don't think I have anything like explicitly saying like how I set it up. Because you like it's a plugin, and you have to kind of work with the plugin and create like a hub and stuff. Okay. So now that I have that, I have to remind myself again. How am I setting this up? So I applied damage. It has elemental fire. And here we set the damage. Okay, so this is where we would need to make a gameplay effect. So let me create gameplay effect. Shared ability system effects. I'll just make a resistances folder. I have to create this UI for configuring the damage assessment attribute. Yeah, man, like, I don't know, I guess maybe you guys saw my I am GUI for the damage system. But it's pretty sweet. Took a while to figure it out, but basically, you know, you can apply damage and then, you know, select your actor. You can check if it was a damage or healing event, and you can check for damage type. So that was physical. And you can check if you applied it or if you received it. And then once you have the information, you can get a lot of information out of it. So the gameplay tags that were used, who was the instigator, who was the target, all of their tags. The damage type, if it was critical, if it was over time. You get the modification values, so the base value, the modified value, and the final value. Hit result data. You can also draw the hit result in the world, so you can see where it was if you wanted to. And then my favorite thing is you can simulate the damage. So as I'm going, I can simulate that same damage again and again and again. And of course, I can filter out the simulated damage so it doesn't spam everything. And then it also does the healing events. So if I deal damage to myself and then I get healed by this dummy actor, I can then go to healing and then received, and I can just see how much I received. And then I can, of course, simulate that, I believe. So if I just go like crazy and then simulate, yeah, you can see me healing. So yeah, I worked too long, I think, on that debugger, but I hope it's worth it. Especially when I have to start introducing these resistances and stuff, I have to update the I am GUI as well. So yeah, let's go into our gameplay effects resistances. Our gas course gameplay effect will say GE _ fire resistance base. I think all of the setup you can find on the repository. If not, maybe I have to update it again. But yeah, there's a couple streams where I did that. Yeah, it's normal C++. Yeah, nothing different than that. So yeah, let's do add, and let's do resistance. And Modifier magnitude, we'll set this to 1, so it's hopefully 100% resistance. And then source tags must have tags, and there's a query match. So we could, say if it's, multiple types, right? But we'll work with fire. So damage type, where's the damage? Dot type, dot elemental fire. So again, I don't know, like, if I have to apply this damage type to the player too, or if it's enough that it's present. That's also where I'm kind of confused. So the duration basis on the gameplay effect attribute modifier for the damage resistant attribute, which adds a damage resistant value based on level, but this attribute modification has a special requirement. It requires the source to have provided the damage elemental fire for this attribute modification to happen. This is an important bit. If we say through a fireball at the player, that fireball applies a gameplay effect, has a damage resistant elemental fire tag, it means this be value in the damage calculation, and the resistance would be 25. So in our damage calculation, we have to grab the resistance thing. So I have to capture it. I don't know if it has to be snapshotted or anything. So let's close out everything. Let's go. I think it's in systems, damage execution. So I need to define damage resistance, or what's it called? Damage. Like, of course, I forget the name like immediately, right? Yeah, it's damage resistance multiplier. So, but from the source, no, to the target. Hopefully that's okay. So what's it yelling at me about? So cannot resolve symbol. Okay, so I think maybe we have to go into the better. There's also just so much going on here. Hold on. So everything's in there. Do I have to add it here? So relevant attributes to capture dot add damage statics. It's not even. Oh, that here. Declare attribute. Yep. Should be hopefully okay. Let's see. And then grabbing everything. But at this point, that's where we have to do something along the lines of this. Grab that. So this is all our debug stuff. This is damage. Okay, so I think, and then this is damage over time, blah, 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 caching it, blah, blah, blah. That's all our critical chance stuff. And just to give you kind of context as well with the game. So I know it's not too easy to see, but on the bottom right, there's these quote unquote cards that grant you abilities, passive abilities. So now I have a speed multiplier, it makes me 10% faster. But then I have another card that I believe I can't remember. I think card 2 lets me apply burn all the time. No, oh no, this is always critical hits. And then another card is it applies burn on critical hits, and so like you can get a bunch of like critical damage and stuff. So that's the kind of game loop I'm looking before. You know, you collect cards, you go into an arena, you use these cards, they go into your graveyard. You spend these card resource points that you're seeing on the bottom left near the health bar to play a card, and you can grant yourself an ability like, you know, a Meteor Strike or a Big Slam or something, or you can play like a passive debuff on the enemy and things like that. Like you fight waves of enemies using the card mechanic and stuff like that. So I'm hoping it'll be interesting. So yeah, back at it. Okay, so this is all of that in a bag of chips. So stat effect stuff here, not really good. But so where is incoming damage? We do the damage, we do the base damage. So where else is this gas course context? Gas course context, yeah, here. So this we do critical hits, all that stuff. And then we say the modified value. And then we eventually, yeah, here's where we do it. So we have to do it somewhere. Here, I would assume. So damage resistance, and we do now evaluate parameters. I'm not sure. So no, evaluation parameters is there. Hopefully that would actually return something. So UE log T temp name quotes damage resistance hopefully, let's see if that'll compile, and then we'll take it from there. But yeah, hopefully that'll mean then when I grant this resistance and I get the damage, it will work. I just don't understand like the possible race condition that can happen where like the damage is applied first and then this gameplay effect applies the modification or something. So we'll have to see. The moment of truth, gang. Up, I think it was our gameplay, right? No, it's this. So where is our resistances? It's our base. So again, we're gonna get 1. Again, this should be what we're seeing. What we're seeing up here, and then our damage type at runtime. We are adding this asset tag. And we're adding that in pipeline or subsystem. We're adding it here, right? The dynamic asset tag, capture source tags. Yeah, like this should hopefully be okay. Am I supposed to be using a different one? Do I have warnings that tell me I should not be using this? Maybe. Oh well. Now I just gotta grant this fire resistance for one. Let's find our elf character. It is actually an ability set. Maybe I could just put it there. So ability system, ability sets, character. There's a bunch of stuff by default. We can maybe take some stuff out. So passive regain, attribute a knitter. Let's just add fire resistance. That, and so by default, nothing should change attribute wise, right? Bam. Let's look. So our multiplier, our damage resistance is still 0. So far so good. Maybe I can do myself a favor and let's move this guy out of our way. Let's create test trigger volumes. So I can just do different damage types, you know? And I'll know for sure it's the right damage type. So do I have any other systems? Debug. Do damage volumes. We can make a blueprint actor. Say BP underscore damage type. Sure. Then all we really need is a trigger volume. So just box collision. Say damage collision. Get, I don't know, 128 by 128 by 128. Then, so the collision overlap all dynamics should be enough. And since let's make this the root component, should be able to get this string. There should be. So let's drop you in. Let us make the collision visible. So hit it in game false. I'm hoping this will be enough if I just walk into it. So yes, I see elf male. Bam. Theory, I should be able to say. So we can always cast to gas force character. Ability system open. Now use our statics to say apply damage to target. Technically, yeah, we don't need the ability system component at this point. So target and instigator, we could. I'm hoping I can apply damage to myself. And then, yeah, the damage we'll say is 20. Damage context. I don't really care about hit result right now. But yeah, let's make damage type that elemental fire. Let's confirm. Let's first make this value 0. So we're not going to really see anything yet because it doesn't modify the damage formula. But we should hopefully see something in our log. Like it'll say 0, I think. I don't want to debug anything. So should say like 0. Right? Damage resistance 0. Checks out. But if we make this fire resistance 1, do we see 1? Still see 0. Damn. So the source tag not mean it's supposed to mean. So yeah, my damage type is elemental, not fire. Do I have to do it somewhere else? No, there's still hope. There's still hope here. So damage, spec. Let's see, tag. What do we have? So append, dynamic asset tags. Get dynamic recap. So yeah, recapture source tags. Maybe I can do add. Maybe I just have to do dynamic asset tags dot add tag damage context dot damage type. So this is the wrong version of it. So can I say damage? I just want to see if it'll work if I say dynamic granted tags dot add tag equals the. Well, I am already doing the damage type. Also, if I run over this, do I lose 20 health? I do. Okay, so that's good. Messing with resistance. Oh, there is already a. I'm doing the wrong resistance. I have a resistance attribute set. Okay, hold on. Let me cook. I could be just stupid. Let's see. So let's look. So we're looking for a 1. Yes. It does work. Okay. Should probably remove the resistance attribute set and kind of clean that up. So let's do that. So we have probably an emitter for that. No, there's no perks. Stamina emitter. Deck attribute. Okay. Don't seem to have that kind of emitter, but let's right emitter. No. The base attribute deck, health, perk, stamina, character. Okay, we don't. So in theory, I should be able to delete that. So I think I will at some point, but not now. Let's go into the execution again. And what I want to do is say a couple things. So I want to make sure that it updates correctly. I probably want to do this before this if. I'm going to do that. Then we don't need this. I'll take it out in a second. But then I want to say. Then we say. If resistance is greater than 0, oh. The damage stacks, then we're going to say damage resistance property, get name, and damage resistance. And then we'll say damage times equals 1 minus damage resistance. Yeah, because 1 minus 1 is 0. But then, yeah, there's... I think I'll always want to output that modifier then, because it might be resisted. So maybe in the cases if it was resisted, I then modify it here. I do it there. I don't know. Because then, yeah, I would be modifying it twice in some cases, I think. So I probably want to have maybe a tag also added. Let me know that there was some resistance as well. I'll say no. Maybe if damage is greater than equal to, or is it greater than 0? But I feel like maybe I would always want to say then we would log it. We would still see the damage number though. And maybe that's also part of the problem. Maybe I would say, so if damage resistance is greater than 0, my computer just shit its pants. Hold on. Maybe that's valid. I'm not sure. Maybe that's not clean. Maybe it's confusing. I don't know. Well, let's see if that does what I think it's going to do. I do want to prepare some stuff for the debug. So I do have native gameplay tags. I know I want to add this. So damage type underscore resisted, I think is a good one, or resistance. To as well. Resistance. And so what I would want to do is in here as well, I would need to add the damage type here as well. I could do spec, right? Do spec and then add and then granted tags dot add tag. Then do damage type underscore resistance. Hope that's okay. And in theory, I should be able to go into my debug. Here's all my damage logs stuff. But yeah, where's my IMV stuff? The systems, debugging. Oops. Panels. Damage events panel. Now, let me. The bool, I can probably do it here. So, bool, B, damage resisted. It's false. Up here. Bool. Blah. Resisted. What the hell did I name this thing? Please damage resisted. Static? No. Oh, I added that there, but I also need to add it to this thing. Yeah. Gotta be static. Tmap to oh wait, no, I don't need it there. Am I stupid? What am I doing? Well, let's find where we're doing these checkboxes. So somewhere here. Damage type filter, checkbox filter damage. Maybe I could have a filter for resisted damage. I think that could actually be pretty good. Let's add it. So static pool, the filter only. What's this? I might have to continue this on a different stream. We're an hour in. I add it to our to-do list, but pool F false. But yeah, let's do the checkboxes here. GUI checkbox filter only. It's damage, good. Basically have to say if entry dot hit context container dot as tag stacked damage type resistance and the filter. Well, this is filtering out, so maybe it actually has to kind of exist in damage mod context filter. Maybe that would be better. It's healing physical fire. And then context filter. You can say what damage over time point. Then I could say resisted damage only. That would be better. So I could say something like entry dot be damage resisted. In my damage execution, well, I think it's in the healing execution, not execution, but attribute. I'm setting these things, so let's just all do it together. So in here, eventually we get to where we do damage, right? So we would say pool the damage resisted equals tags dot as tag exact damage type resistance. Boom, 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 boom. Say immutable context. Damage log entry dot assisted. Whoop. That I think. That's fine. Am I doing it in two places? Let's see. So mod context dot b. F damage modification context. Oh, seems like I have it so many places. So B damage resisted. Hey, thanks for the follow. Uki97. Sorry for butchering that. So mod context. Okay. So here's our panel. So I also want the checkbox, right? Somewhere around here. I always forget what it is, but yeah, here. So full dummy assisted. Like that. Perfect. Oof! Sound alert. Big oof. Alright, let's see if that did anything. I really don't know if that sound alert thing does anything, honestly. So sorry if you're wasting your cherries on that. Now, another thing I want to check, like obviously I'm going to check if this overall works, but I want to make sure I can also do this, like evaluate attribute value with tags. I want to see if that works as well. I'll be next. Will this compile? So far, so good. So in theory, what I'm assuming is going to happen is should mitigate all damage, but I'm assuming a 0 would show up in the damage numbers or a crash. Let's see. Okay, so nothing. That's good. And just to kind of confirm, grab this thing. Can I click it? Yeah. Let's change this damage type to physical. Do I receive 20 damage? Yes. Okay. Pretty good, pretty good. It's working as what we're expecting. Let me change this back to fire. And let's see if the IM GUI debug works. Let's just see if anything broke. The filter only resistance damage. So let's do damage received. And we'll do all. Let's see, do we get the damage event? So yeah, we don't even get the damage event. So I think that's part of the problem. I guess because it's okay, I know why. So in the health attribute, I think we're checking. So if not, and local damage. Let me do this. So we're do that. And then we're gonna go here. We're gonna say if local, and same thing. Oh, I think that's needed. So at that point, we're not really logging it officially because it was 0. So maybe now we'll see a damage number because they were passing it all through, and then we broadcast damage applied. So we should, I guess, see a 0. So we'll need to add something to our damage number to say that it was kind of that it was resisted. So yeah, one thing at a time. I do wonder if I can get rid of this burn damage type because it seems unnecessary. Maybe it's a burn. So damage type says that burn. Can we do a search? So it is in damage type UI data. I think because we already have elemental in here. I think I can get just rid of it. So delete. Because I want to make sure my gameplay tags are so damage at type, status, and I say delete. Yeah. Wait, no. Delete a tag. Okay, so I still have the one in code. Let's look at our. Sorry, I'm kind of leaving y'all in suspense. But so damage type, status, burn. Yeah. So do we use this anywhere? So this one. So yeah, we want to do damage type. Elemental fire. For 1. Now it's just in those 2. So, and I don't think we have status anywhere. So let's clean up both. Let's go to our header. We'll see if that files or if I just broke everything. How's everybody's week going so far? It's Tuesday. Club going up on a Tuesday. I'm getting ready for my holiday break. Hope you all are too. Close out the year with a bang. Still want to check this as well. I'll do that next. First, I want to just check if my IM GUI is updated correctly. Oh, we got nothing. So B has status. So status effect. So I guess we could say elemental can still be toxic at some point. So yeah, let's that. If status, so we're gonna have to clean up some healing coefficients. As well, no big deal. Let's also do that in here because I believe that's where the attribute set was, right? So status damage. So let's get that. Here as well, right? So bam. I'm assuming a gameplay effect will also break. We'll see. Doing great. Currently doing some camera debuggings. Nice. What kind of like? I mean, let me check the history of this chat. I'm trying to see if you were the one that was saying you were making a game here. Well, that you said your specific game. But what kind of camera debuggings are you doing? So I'm also looking into some camera stuff at work. So I'm kind of curious what you're looking at. Because like with my game here, like I'm debating on whether or not it'll be like a static isometric camera or if I'll still let you do it. Healing coefficient. We broke still. Makes sense. Say goodbye. Still be okay. One more time for good measure. It is my first time using gameplay camera system, and I have issues switching between a fixed puzzle camera and the one that follows the player. Okay, that's a new plugin, right? The gameplay camera. I think it is. I think you can use State Tree for that as well. Yeah, I was debating using that as well, but is that like I've been going so back and forth with this fucking game sometimes, man. Like it was originally top-down isometric, but it was also point and click at the time. Then I was like, no, I want it to be third person. So I brought the camera in. But then I was like, oh, well, no, I want the game to have these cards, and I want to make sure these cards are on screen. I want to make it visible. So I zoomed back out to a high-level camera so that things can fit on the screen. But, you know, no longer point and click. So I think now I'm at a camera that I like for the time being, I hope. Everything there, so but yeah, okay, so something broke. I think it was in my health emitter like I thought. So emitter, health attribute emitter, things didn't. So status damage healing coefficient doesn't exist. So current health. I need a max health, I think. Is that what's missing? Oh, it's here. So set max health. I hope this will fix that. Instant gameplay effects will not stack. Does this have stacking? Back to normal. So yeah, let's look. We go with this. First gameplay queue, blah blah blah. So we're still not getting damage numbers, but maybe that's okay. Are we getting damage events? Okay, so we are getting resisted. It says damage type, the elemental fire. Damage resistance multiplier of 1. We're seeing that there. So the modified value is 1, or I'm trying to see what the value really should be. So like the modified value should be, I guess technically 20, I guess, but so let's let me deal damage to myself. So at the top here, I have normal damage here. So let me filter for only resistance damage. And that filter doesn't work. Context filter. Oh yeah, this checkbox shouldn't do anything anymore. It should be resistance damage only. And we're here. Cool. So I need to just clean up some stuff. So I don't need this check. Well, I need the checkbox, but I need the not the thing up here. So we have the filter, event filter. We don't want that checkbox. Damage, so good. Yes, I don't need this one anymore. So I can get rid of it up here. Okay. So it works sort of. I still want to see like a damage number, you know, but I want to know that I resisted the damage. I'm trying to see what needs to happen there. At the same time, in the damage execution, saying eventually we're getting, right, modified damage value should equal like there should, maybe I need to store like original damage. So float damage. Maybe I have to say, I'm going to say base damage equals 0, and then I'm going to say float modified damage equals 0. Or I can say, I can maybe move this. That, and then this one, I have to start changing this stuff. So that, and then say modify damage equals this. Chance. Now I have to just say base damage. I don't know, is that really doing anything different, you know? Was it worth it? Let me work it. Let's just see if that compiles. But in general, I'm happy. I feel like I'm sure I missed something. So we'll wait for the error and we'll see how bad it is. Then we have to look at the damage number. Close all tabs. Let's go to our... We've also been streaming for an hour and a half, so we'll have to end in the next 10 minutes or so. We can at the very least look at the UI and just see why we're not getting a number drawn. Because maybe it checks to see if it's greater than 0 or not. So we gotta go to our HUD and then damage number panel. And we have these callbacks that we initialize on construct on damage applied. Say add damage number from context. So if the delta value is equal to 0, so that's the problem right here. So I can at the very least put it to do for next time. Now we have a damage type resistance that we can check to see if it exists here. It should be a part of the context. I guess in theory I could say and does not context dot the damage resisted. Turn. There you could also check that, but let's just make sure all damage and stuff is doing okay. So far so good. I'm getting 10 damage. Am I getting... I didn't touch anything with damage, with healing, but let's just check to make sure I'm healing. Great. I go in here. Damage resisted. In theory now, if I do a hot reload, I should see at least the damage number, and it'll be 0. I would need to make something like... I'm trying to remember if there's any references for like resistance icons or anything like that. Resistance icon. I should say damage resistance icon. A shield icon. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Let's see if we get a 0 show up. Yes. So ideally, I would, next to the damage number, maybe show like a shield icon, right? So let's do that next time. And before I forget, I do want to see if this evaluate attribute value with tags works. So we can quickly do that in our elf character. I'm surprised this all went as smoothly as it did. So far. So on tick for now. Have our ability system component somewhere. Oh no, it's in our player state, right? Get ability system component. And then it's what? Evaluate attribute value with tags. So our attribute is resistance. I'll have to also clean up this resistance attribute stuff. We don't need that anymore. I'll probably do that off screen. Source tags. Make container from tag, and we'll do damage type. Elemental fire. And let's just print that out as long as it's successful. So in theory, we should see 1. And let's prepare the resistance gameplay effect as well. What's wrong? So the current value of the target tags, but all right, do I really have to make one as well for it to like not yell at me? Is that what the example also showed? No, it doesn't complain about that. Oh, okay. Let's see. So I'm also on the verge of peeing my pants. So let's just see. So we'll do fire resistance. So we'll do 1 still. And let's just see if we see 1. So we do see 1. Awesome. Now, just to be super duper sure, let's do 0.2. Let's do 0.2. Now to be super duper crazy sure, let's be stupid here. Let's do fire resistance ultra, and we'll add 0.2. Let's add 0.5 to it, and let's do on I key. Or yeah, let's do let's grab the ability system component. And let's actually make this fire resistance ultra a duration based. We'll make it 5 seconds. Here we'll do 5 gameplay effect spec or self. We'll do this one. Bam. Fire resistance ultra. And it doesn't stack, so it's fine. So we should see 0.2, and then I press I. Now it's 0.7. Does it say 0.7? No, then it's 0.2. Okay, perfect. So that was what, 5 seconds? Yeah. So that does work as I'd hoped. So that's awesome. So yeah, any kind of fire resistances, I think, as well need to have some resistance tags and stuff like that. I'll probably need to set up the architecture for that down the line. So that could be part of it too. But yeah, let's remove that. Let's remove all that. So yeah, in general, I am happy. I hope y'all are happy too. So yeah, damage resistance and multipliers. I'll have to do the multiplier one next. I don't know how I'm gonna do that part. So if I have like a fire damage multiplier, would that work the same way? Probably. We'll have to do that next time. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. If you aren't already following me here on Twitch, a follow is always appreciated. If you're watching from YouTube, make sure to subscribe. I'll probably have to make a TikTok about the damage resistances. I don't know how easily it's going to be visible. Maybe when it's all said and done, I have the shield icon and stuff like that. There's only 2 of us on the Twitch stream, so I don't think I'm going to raid anybody. And only 2 of us on YouTube, so I think I'm going to just call it there. So enjoy your night, and I will see you soon.